What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast studio. It is Growing Upstairs with your host, Holden and
Noah.
What's going on, Noah?
Man, I feel like it's just me and you.
It is. This is the first week in like 5 or 6 weeks, however many episodes it's been, that it's just the hosts up here. We don't have any other leaders. We don't have any guestesses. It's just just us. It's quiet in here.
It is. It's very quiet.
It almost feels lonely.
A little bit.
In a way. Well, I want to start off and just say shout out to all of our youth that have come on so far through the season. We're getting to a really busy time of year, so I'm not sure if we'll have anybody else on here at the end of this year. But what do you think? Do you think we should do this again, where we, get some more youth on and let them tell stories or testimonies or whatever they want to talk about?
Absolutely. I definitely think so. I'll kind of echo what you were saying as far as thanking them and for their willingness just to be able to kind of step out of their comfort zone like we've been talking about and come and join us on a podcast to do something that they probably, I know when we first started this, I had never done anything like it before. So I know for them it's probably kind of similar, something they've never really had any experience with, and their willingness to step out of their comfort zone and do so it shows a lot. And man, I mean, we've had some really, really great conversations with some of them, and really, all of them, but just there's certain moments that I'm just very thankful for that we've been able to have those experiences with our youth group and have them do that.
You kind of get a gauge too. You're like, man, they're tuned in too. Sometimes we think that kids don't listen or they don't necessarily pay attention, and then you kind of get in a situation like this. Again, you're somewhat uncomfortable because, podcasting is something, I guess, that's been around for a little while, but something that we do, not many people are doing it. So It's like, okay, what is this all about? And then, facilitating that comfortable place to be and knowing that, hey, you're in a safe space where you can talk about whatever you want to talk about and get out of your comfort zone like that and be able to do that. And I think it's fun to be able to watch and see, oh, okay, they're listening. Yeah. They know what's going on.
And I think that you could kind of tell as we got deeper into the episodes, as we were recording, that there were moments where they really kind of began to realize, okay, there's really, there's really nothing too scary about doing this. And they were able to really just be themselves and talk and get real and honest.
Yeah. And we try to make it fun too. You and I were talking a little bit earlier. Some of them seem like they're really long, and I don't know. We'll have to ask everybody. Hey, if you see an episode that's really long, is that something that you're like, yes, I get to listen to this? If I have free time, or is it like, oh, that's a little too long for me? We might have to just check and see how everybody feels about it, and then we'll have to cut down on some stuff if we need to. But we'll figure it out. We got time to kind of figure that out. But again, shout out to all the youth for coming on so far.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll see how we go for the rest of the year. Like I said, it's a busy time of year. We're right at a week away from Thanksgiving, which is unbelievable. By the time this episode comes out, we'll be a week and a day away.
That's right.
From Thanksgiving.
It's almost time to start listening to Christmas music.
What do you mean? You're not listening already? I listened to 14 on the way here.
I believe it. I actually, y'all kind of did a work on me a couple of weeks ago when we had that episode. And I began to think that I might actually put my Christmas tree up this week.
You guys, this is the sound of the Grinch's heart growing 3 times. I'm just kidding. I kind of felt bad. I was listening back and I was like, man, I almost painted Noah in a little bit of bad light there, like as if he doesn't like Christmas. Noah likes Christmas, you guys. He just is waiting till Thanksgiving before he puts it up.
That's right.
I'm leaving. When I go from here, I'm putting the Christmas tree up.
You don't already have yours up?
No. We were going to put it up last weekend, but we've had some kind of busy things and some stuff that's come up that we just hadn't really had the time to, because it's an ordeal.
Oh yeah.
Like for us, it's all right. Let's get a Christmas movie on. Mm-hmm. Let's get the music going, and it's a family thing too. So there was one point in time it was just me and my wife at the house, and it was like, oh, well, we could do it now, and it was like, you can't do that without your kid.
Oh yeah,
your kid's got to be a part of that, right? And he's fired up about it. So I told him when we left church this morning, I was like, hey, we're gonna put the tree up tonight.
Well, I bet he got excited.
Oh, he was. He was like, as soon as we get home, can we do it then? We're gonna do it then. As soon as we get home, we're gonna put the tree up. It's gonna be awesome. I was like,
you think Santa will come tonight?
Yeah, you think of it? He's already like that. Santa, how long until Christmas? I was like 44 days. I think it was like 43, and he's like, that's a long time. But last time when we first talking about it, he was like, 2 days? I only got 2 more sleeps, 2 more days, and Christmas is here. I was like, no, son, you got like 2 months.
Yeah.
When he first started asking it, he was like, oh man, it's kind of bummed out about it.
And it'll come and it'll be gone just like in a flash.
Yeah, it's awesome how much he pays attention, and like the years as he's grown now, being 5, like how much more excited he is and how much more he understands. We talk about the youth in here and what they're picking up. He's the same way as he's gotten older. I can remember when he was a baby, it's like he was excited, didn't really know what was going on. Now he's like, oh, I'm in it, We watched the Santa Claus movie. He's like, it's not Santa Claus, Daddy. I was like, what you talking about? He said, it's Scott Calvin. I was like, what are you talking about, kid? But anyways, well, how's everything been going since last week when we got together?
Everything's been good. I had to take Riley to the vet last week for his for a first checkup, or 1 year checkup. Everything checked out good. He's doing good, but it was reminded just how expensive the vet is.
Oh, yeah.
So that was.
I can't believe he's only a year old. That dog looks like he's at least 2 or 3.
Well, they weighed him, and he is actually officially 45 pounds.
That's nuts,
so
man.
The vet nurse or whatnot, she said, he's got to be the biggest Boykin Spaniel I have ever seen. And I was like, yeah, he's quite large for Boykin.
Had a hunk, boy.
And he'll run you over too.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not like he's fat or anything. He's a muscular dude.
Straight. I mean, he's just thick. But yeah, it was a good week though. Just working and busy time of year, like we've been saying. Schedules are just packed and full, and got to see the Noles win over the weekend, so that was fun. Got a win over Miami. And then church this morning, man, it was great. It was good to be to be in the house of the Lord this morning.
Worship and everything was just spot on.
Absolutely,
really good. Well, you want to talk? Do you want? We talk about music a little bit here and there.
Well, first you got to tell me about your week a little bit.
Well, I got to know about your guitar though. I don't know if we've talked about it on here.
There's times when we record, and I completely forget about certain things.
Trust me,
that are part of my week. But yeah, the guitar thing was definitely a part of my week. We took my guitar a couple weeks ago to Guitar Center and thought it was going to be a somewhat simple fix to get the bridge of the guitar fixed. It's an acoustic guitar, and thought he was going to be able to kind of glue the part of the bridge back and restring the guitar, and that would handle the problem. But after he tried that, he gave me a call in the middle of the week and told me that it was actually going to have to replace the entire bridge. It would be like over $250 to fix. And that is very accurate music for how I felt when I received that call. But it's just one of those things. It's like you don't really expect your guitar that you've been using for a couple of years to be, basically useless.
Yeah.
So probably, that guitar is not necessarily worth fixing it in that way. So it's probably going to be time to kind of look for a new one.
Time to go with a new one.
So Santa Claus may be coming to see me with a new guitar. I hope.
Talking about Scott Calvin?
Yeah, that's right. Tim Allen.
I know when we took it down there, both of us were kind of like, all right, well, maybe we can get some answers and we can get this thing figured out and all. And I was pretty excited. Like when we got there, I was like, oh, this is great. Noah's going to get his guitar straightened out. Everything's going to be good to go. And then I just so happened to look and I was like, what is this? And the guy's like, oh, that could be the culprit to whatever the issues have been. And then to find out like a week later, it's like, yeah, can't do anything about it. I was like, dang it, dude. Yeah. It just stinks because, again, I don't know how long you've had it or how long you've been playing with it.
That one's about 3.5 years old.
Yeah, but, I mean, still, they kind of hold value to you,
All right.
Especially if it's like one of your first ones. But anyways, well, so we're in the market for a new guitar for Noah come Christmas time.
That's right.
We'll have to keep that in mind. But for me, I mean, kind of the same stuff. Watched Georgia this weekend, a really big win over Ole Miss, which I would anticipate before or after this episode comes out, Georgia should be the number one team in the country again when that time comes. I would think. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see as time goes. But I mean, really hadn't had a whole lot more going on. Had our gathering last Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. I don't think anything major. I mean, at work we're kind of busy. We've got our place is kind of selling right now, so we've just kind of been getting everything ready for that coming up, and the owners coming down and all this kind of stuff. So it's just been busy, kind of like you, just getting ready for that, and it's winter time, so everything gets really, really busy for me this time of year. Really from now until March, really from now until like June or July, because I mean it's just hunting season.
Yeah,
and hunting time. Everybody's wide open about, but other than that, that's it. But it's a busy time of year. Like I said, we're 1 week until Thanksgiving. Or 1 week and a day by the time this comes out. But what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Oh, man. That's tough because I love Thanksgiving.
Me too. There's a reason why you get a plate. Like, even if you got the dividers on it, food is touching each other.
Oh, yeah.
You load it down.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not real picky about food touching on your plate or whatever. But on Thanksgiving, like, it's kind of like a rivalry game. Like, all rules are just out the window.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Just put as much on your plate as you can. And I know this is probably unpopular opinion, but my mom makes, like, the best green bean casserole I've ever had in my life.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably my favorite.
Green bean casserole. Yeah, I would say that it's definitely not the most popular opinion.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, like, you just got to try it. I've had other people's green bean casserole, right? And it's kind of
just not the same.
It's just not that great, but I'm telling you this, I think she puts like egg or something in it, and the egg makes it kind of fluffy.
Interesting.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's off the chain.
So we'll get there about 12:35 on Thursday.
That's right. Right after the Macy's Thanksgiving parade. Come on in.
It's funny how you have like those traditional things you do. You watch the parade that morning and everything. Do you ever watch the Puppy Bowl?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't know, and the dog show and all that too. Yeah.
And then it's always, I feel like the Detroit Lions play like every Thanksgiving.
They do, yeah.
It's like, I guess it's
Isn't it them and the Cowboys?
Yeah, typically.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll watch some of that.
I feel like back in the day, that's when you got to watch like the main rivalry college football games too, like Auburn, Alabama. But it wasn't. I guess we were just with family by the time that Saturday came. I know you get like, I think Ole Miss, Mississippi State play
the Egg Bowl.
Yeah, which I mean we're in South Georgia, so the SEC and ACC is kind of what we pay attention to around here, and you got a few of those games at least that are going on, which is fun. I mean, it's
that whole day is just awesome. What about you? What's your
favorite dish? It's probably dressing, honestly.
Oh yeah,
and it kind of depends. I don't want the dressing out of a box, but like the top of the line, that's got to be the best because I can eat it with anything, with peas that are with it, with the turkey, with ham. I like the ham cold though. I don't want to. I like a warm ham too. That's good, but the cold ham, I don't know what it is about it. I'd like. Yeah, I'm going with that.
Yeah.
But then like dessert, dude, I love pumpkin pie.
Is sweet potato
pie kind of
sweet potato souffle?
It's good too. Yeah.
Is it
with the marshmallows on
it? Is that considered a dessert?
I don't know. That's a good question. A lot of people think it's just a side.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's kind of.
I would say it's a side.
But I also feel like it's kind of like a dessert. I mean, it's really sweet.
Oh man.
But it's like a yam sweet too. Yeah. I like them.
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
I know. I'm looking at these little strawberry things over here, thinking I might, if they didn't stick to your teeth so bad, I'd probably put one in while we're doing this. But I'd be having, I can't get it all. But have another ASMR episode.
Wyatt back.
Oh my goodness. and Hunter with the clickety clacky. All right, so I do have a game for you. I know it's just you and I.
Okay.
But I'm gonna play a game with you. We're Thanksgiving, but we're also talking a little bit about Christmas that's coming up. We're gonna kind of start transitioning because we'll do one more episode before Thanksgiving, and that'll be our Thanksgiving episode next week. Matter of fact, all of us leaders will be together, and we're gonna do a Thanksgiving episode, which will be a lot of fun. I'll have to make you guys a game too, but this is just gonna be kind of getting into the Christmas time, and it's gonna be seeing if you can see how many of these Christmas song intros you can get. And some of them are new, some of them are not, some of them are really old. So
I feel like this will be a really tough game.
I think it will
because have you ever noticed how every artist has a version of a Christmas song?
Well, I almost did that. Like I like listening to Brett Eldredge, Glow. That album I think is a really good one, and that's kind of like a jazzy, bluesy kind of a sound mixed with country. And I was like, maybe I should do it like that. But I didn't. I went through a bunch of genres. Some are old, some are new, and I even listen. I think it's like, is it Dean Martin? Is he the one that does like the old style?
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. 4 songs came on in a row, and the intro to all 4 of them sounded exactly the same. There was Jingle Bell jingling, and I was like, I can't tell the difference in these. So I was like, I can't do that. But I looked up a couple of different ones, and we'll do a few of those real quick. All right, now I got my sound pulled up here. All right, so like I said, this is guessing that Christmas song intro. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
First one, here we go.
You want me to just shout it out? That's Mariah Carey, isn't it? All I Want for Christmas Is You.
That's it. Yeah, All I Want for Christmas Is You.
All right.
You want to keep up with how many you get?
Sure. Yeah, I'll keep a tally.
You got one. I had to pull my screen up, but my little screen will only let me have so many like words on here for what it is. So I was looking, I was like, All I Want. I was like, okay, let's see. All right, you got one. Let's go to the next one.
Walking in a Winter Wonderland.
Booyah. Dude, you're fast at that too. That was pretty good. You're not even giving the listeners a chance, man. No, I'm just kidding. All right, to the next one. Here we go.
All right, I know it. I'll give it another second.
It's so good, man. It almost brings a tear to your eye.
Is that Where Are You Christmas?
Where are you?
By Faith Hill. Didn't she sing that?
Yeah. This might be one that we might have to do this. Like, what's your favorite Christmas song? I may save that for next week and put it around because that's got to rank pretty high up there.
That's pretty good.
It's a good one. I mean, anytime that I hear it, I'm like, that almost brings a tear to
I won't tell you my favorite one. We'll save it for.
Save it? Oh, I like that. That's good. Well, you might have to send it to me so I can maybe pull them all up for us. That's a good idea. All right. So you're 3 for 3 on this. Nice job. Here we go. They get a little tougher. If you get this one, I'm incredibly impressed. I'll play it one more time for you. That is
kind of lost. I'll take a random shot in the dark. It's not. Is it the Christmas song?
That's close. It's White Christmas.
Yeah, I would have never gotten.
I wouldn't either. And I think it's just because if you had like, I don't know, probably 5 or 10 more seconds of it, it would probably get to where you could recognize something. Right. But this is by far the hardest one of a song that you would know if you heard like the actual chorus or something like that.
Right.
All right. So on to the next one. Here we go.
I know it, I think.
Okay.
Is that Santa Tell Me by Ariana Grande?
Oh, yeah, dude, you nailed it. I would not have gotten this one, by the way.
Well, Lori likes Ariana Grande. So.
Oh, there you go. Surely Taylor Swift has a Christmas album.
Oh, yeah, she does.
She got a few that...
I think it may just be like one song.
Oh, that's one song, that's it?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, Mariah Carey did pretty good with that one song.
Oh, yeah.
That's played every Christmas. All right, to the next one. Here we go.
Jingle bells. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, this is that Mistletoe, Justin Bieber?
You're killing this. You're nailing it. I wouldn't have got this one either.
I told you I like Christmas.
Yeah. I wouldn't have got this one either. I was like, I have no clue what's playing right now. All right, on to the next one. Here we go. Wait for it.
Yeah. I wouldn't have got it if I wouldn't have heard that last part.
Right there at the end, yeah.
That's Santa Claus Coming to Town, right?
That is Santa Claus Coming to Town. Or in the words of my son,
Scott Calvin.
Scott Calvin coming to town. You're doing good, dude. You've only missed one, and that's the hardest one of them all. All right, last one. Here we go.
Is that Rudolph?
That is Rudolph. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Dude, you nailed it. You got, out of 8 of them, you got 7 of 8.
Let's go.
It's pretty good. I tell you what, you can have one of these strawberry candies as a not a cancellation prize, but just a cancellation prize.
All right.
That was pretty good. Yeah, you'll have to save your favorite Christmas song for us when that time comes here in just a little bit.
All right.
No, I did actually have this. What is your favorite Christmas song? But we're gonna wait a
save that for.
If you had one like I said, for me, this is. It's probably one of the tops. Christmas shoes, that's another good one.
That's a good one, yeah.
You think of any others that are just like, man, that's a good Christmas song?
I love the Christmas song.
The Christmas song, yeah.
You know, like chestnuts roasting.
Chestnuts roasting.
I don't know. Like and it's something about that Brett Eldredge version of that one. I think it's probably my favorite. That's just a good song. I like that one.
Yeah, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree is another
a good one. That one always reminds me of Home Alone.
Yes, because you're kind of jamming out to them. I'm gonna pull up this album that you were talking about, because there's a couple of those. What is the other one that he does on that album? He has an a cappella version of it too. Not Silent Night. Yeah, this is the one you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But see, like that intro right there, that's so many other people have sang that song, but they have such a different intro.
Yeah. This is the one I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
That's another good one. So that'll be something we do next week, as we kind of get into it, is our intros. This one, listen to this one, though. Tell me this doesn't sound like the start of a TV show. So does this one, though.
Yeah, it does.
Tell me what is that? Is that How I Met Your Mother? It sounds like the start of?
yeah, it does.
Okay, yeah. I thought so too, because when I first started playing it, I was like, I don't think this is playing what it's supposed to be playing right now. That does kind of
sound like that.
But I also can't remember what the name of the other. So you said you're thinking about putting your tree up. You're going to go ahead and do it this week is what you're thinking?
If I can find the time, I may try to do it this week.
Need some help with that? Because that's literally one of my questions on here. You need help putting your tree up. Because we can arrange to have help for you, Noah.
I mean, I think I should be
be
able to make it.
Should be able to do that. What about do you have a tree? Are you going to get a fake one?
Actually, I do have a tree. Yeah, I had a lady that's friends with my mom. Shout out to Miss Pat. She was willing, or was generous enough to give me one of her trees. She puts up a lot of trees during Christmas time. She has like a 3-story house, and she puts a Christmas tree in every room of her house.
Oh man!
I mean, she like does all kinds of decorating. It's pretty impressive. But she had an extra one that she wasn't using this year, and she knew I had just gotten my house, and so she offered me a Christmas tree.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's how my grandmother is. We have one, like growing up in the house that they had in Albany. There was one in the living room, one in the kids' room, which was like the sunroom, and then one in the dining room, which was like the adults. And then I think she had one in their bedroom too. But like she had them all over the place. So last year, Taylor and I talked about like having one in the living room, but then having one more like in around the dining area, I guess. And it was going to be the Georgia tree. So we're going to get a white tree and put a bunch of red ornaments, red stuff like that on it to kind of have a Georgia tree. And then I saw a picture, somebody put it in their bedroom. I was like, oh, I'd be all right with a Christmas tree in the bedroom. I love Christmas time, so I can do lights and all that. Lights on the house, lights not on the house. Some people find it tacky. I like it, but what about you?
We never really did lights on the house.
No lights on the house?
We have a visitor.
We have a guest. What's up, Gramps?
So random.
Much. Just getting out of a couple of meetings today, and y'all still here, so I decided I'd drop in and see what y'all up to.
To be honest with you, you kind of scared me a little bit when that door opened.
I'm not going to lie. It started opening, I was like, the Holy Ghost comes in. We're going to have church. Start thinking of that. Well, I don't have a third microphone. Otherwise, I'd plug you up real quick, and you could join us. You just sit in and listen.
You just don't sit and listen to us and tell us when we're wrong.
Talk about You're going to have to do that. We're going to take a picture of it, and we're going to put it on with us. Random appearance of a guest featuring Gramps. And this will be the face. All right, so we talked about this before. This is going to be a new segment that we're going to do. We're going to run through really quick. It's going to be Noah's Random Minute. I'm going to come up with a song, like just a bunch of random noises.
All right.
And it's just going to be your time to talk about anything random. And
just a random minute, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to take this sound away because it doesn't necessarily have to be funny. It can be anything, just a random minute about whatever.
So whatever's on my mind.
Whatever you want to talk about.
All right, so I'll tell a story. And we were talking about this a little bit before.
Yeah.
But for those listening, this will be new. But, so like I talked about earlier, we got to see FSU play yesterday, Saturday. They beat Miami. So shout out to the Noles. But I was telling Holden, they had some parachuters drop in before the game, and it was really, really neat time. They had the game ball, they parachuted in, brought the game ball in, and for Veterans Day, they did that, instead of like a flyover or something. So there were 3 3 guys that dropped into the stadium, parachuting in, and the third guy that jumped out of the plane, you could see the plane was, circling over the stadium, and the third guy that dropped out of the plane, it took him a minute to get his parachute to deploy. And we were beginning to wonder there for a second if it was ever going to deploy. Well, finally it did, and he landed in the stadium. But we noticed after him that there was something else falling from the plane that it almost looked like it could have been another parachuter. It was the plane had gone farther at that point, so they were further away from the stadium, so it was a little bit harder to tell. When they were right over the stadium, you could tell it was a person jumping out of the plane and parachuting in, but they were a little bit farther away to tell, but you could tell something was falling. And if it was a dude with a parachute, it never deployed, because whatever it was just continued to fall. All the way where, and it went behind the other side of the stadium, and we never saw if what it was deployed or what. So it was just like, talk about random. That's random, but
it was random. I was telling Noah, I hope it was just like a bag fell out, like when they jumped or something. Gramps is saying a money bag.
Yeah.
No, they need to take that to Texas A&M right now.
Ooh. But they had the parachuters and the whole crew on the field at halftime and introduced them. So everything seemed to be like it was cool and all was well. But it was odd.
It was random.
Yeah.
So you didn't see. It didn't look like the 3 of them were looking around going, "Hey, where's that 4th guy?"
No.
So hopefully it was just something fell out, or like you and I talked about before. Maybe it was like he jumped out and his parachute fell off, and he somehow had like a backup or something on him, and it took a little longer for him to get that one to deploy.
I reckon so.
We have already Googled like if anything happened in this, and I hadn't seen anything yet, so we might have to follow back up with that next week. If it's like, it was just they were dropping something next to the stadium for somebody or something.
So that's my random minute for today.
That's the random minute. That's Noah's random minute. But I'll come up with some better sounds when we get to it. You ready to grow upstairs?
Let's do it.
Do it.
We fixing to raise the meter, the meter, the meter, the meter, the meter, the meter, the meter to Aquafina. I need her, I need her, I need her, I need her, I need her.
All right, so we're growing the meter today. We're going to talk some more about faith and having a strong faith, and we've talked about faith in 2 different ways so far, and one of these is going to be kind of similar to how we talked about it in the past. But we've talked about having a Sunday morning faith and just going through the motions of what a Sunday is, showing up on Sunday, going through the motions of, oh, yeah, I've been to church, and how sometimes we feel like doing that is enough. And then same thing kind of coming on Wednesdays, but then every other day of the week, you're not doing anything. So that's one part of faith we've talked about. We've talked a little bit about the strength of faith when Grace was on that week, that she talked about it in her lessons as we were going through the Puzzled series. And today, we're just going to talk about having a strong faith. And some of this is going to come out of Esther and having the strength that Esther had. Is it Esther or Esther?
Esther.
Esther. Okay, because I was also looking at this going, I wonder if I'm saying the name her name wrong, because there are times where I'm reading the Bible, man, and I'm like,
kind of like Phil Wick, man.
I don't know who Zacharias is. Y'all ever do that when you come across a name and you're like, I cannot pronounce this?
Oh yeah.
Sunday school, is that what you said?
Bruce had us reading some scripture this morning, and I was struggling.
Well, I was looking at the bottom. We were going through Romans and some of Paul's teachings, and I look at the bottom, and there's a reference like into Isaiah or something. But the name, I still to this moment have no clue what the name was on the bottom. It was like Zenadiah or something like that. It wasn't Zacchaeus. Anyways, I digress. So back into what we were talking about here. One of the parts that I wanted to talk about is Esther, and I was trying to remember, was it her cousin Mordecai? Do you remember, or is that her brother? Okay, it might have been. It was a family member or relative of Esther that was kind of not egging her, but saying, hey, Esther was going to go and talk to the king about saving her people, the Jewish people, because the king at the time was looking to, kind of take over the Jews and essentially kind of kill some of them. So that was a problem, and she saw this as wrong. And at the time, it was, you are not to go and approach the king about anything. And in Esther 4:16, it says what she had said. So I will go to the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So she's going to this king with something that if she brings this to him, she could very well be killed just for bringing this to him. But nonetheless, she still had so much faith in God that even if she was unsuccessful in this, even if she would be killed, that what she was doing was right, that God called her to do this for her people, that she had the faith to do it anyways. And I think about this kind of like in our own lives. Could you imagine if we had a strength in our faith to where, man, we didn't care what we were going up against. We didn't care if we knew that it was right and this is what God is telling us we need to do, and we have enough faith to go and see that out. Could you imagine the difference we can make in the world?
Oh, yeah.
In just a short amount of time?
Absolutely. I mean, I think even just the faith sometimes to step out of our comfort zones and invite somebody to church can be hard. So just thinking about what Esther did in those moments where she went to the king and did something that, culturally was totally wrong. If you think about different things in our culture that would be totally wrong or would stand out or you would be looked down upon because of it, a lot of those things, I can guarantee you there's some of those even, ourselves and many would not be willing to do. So it's one of those things to have that kind of faith. I pray for that in my life.
I think sometimes we also have that conflict within ourselves where, we know, like in our lives, if there's a law, you don't want to break it. Right. It's not something that we're supposed to break. But in that time, she saw that this was something that you were not supposed to do by going and speaking to the king or bringing something to him in any way. But she saw what was going on was wrong, and still, nonetheless, chose to go and do that. And in her heart, she was like, I'm prepared for this in every way that I can be. I've prayed about this. Every step that I need to take, I know that I'm going to do this. And if I'm unsuccessful, so be it. If I'm killed, so be it. I've got the faith that God's going to provide and do for this. And kind of like what you were saying there, and I was thinking about this, if we think of the same story that Esther had here and we apply it to the circumstances in our world today, you might know somebody who's going the wrong way or making the wrong choices, going on the wrong path. We should listen to God and study what it is that he has placed on our heart in that situation and prepare in every way, just as she did, to assess the situation and ultimately choose to have faith that God will be in this situation and help us to resolve it because we know that it's right in our hearts. And it's just hard to do sometimes. I think we talk about the easy side of it, and I kind of go back and forth with this. Sometimes I say, oh, it's easy. It's easy to be a Christian. It's easy to say I'm saved, to go to church on Wednesday, to go to church on Sunday, to do this. But then there are the hard things that come up in it, which is having a faith that is so strong. So I have a couple of questions here, because sometimes we think, why is it so important for me to serve, and whatever it is that's brought up, and what kind of difference can I really make? Yeah. And that's something I think I've kind of struggled with that too. When something like this is going on, when there's something in the world, and I tried to think of a good analogy of something, and maybe if you think of one in the time where we see something that's wrong, or we see somebody, a friend of ours, who's going down the wrong path, and I think sometimes we think, well, I why do I need to step in? What should I do about this? Shouldn't I just let this play out and let it do its own thing? What do you think? I think this is that opportunity,
Right. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that, it's those moments where we really are, as Christians, if they're our brother in Christ and that type of thing, like, for example, say this is me and you, and I'm going down a path that you recognize that is wrong for me to be going down, and we're friends and brothers in Christ and accountability partners in a way, and I would want you to reach out to me and have that tough conversation. Yeah. Like, I think that would be very beneficial, not only for me and my walk with the Lord, but also, as I see where I might be wrong in some ways, it would help us grow closer as friends, yeah, and in our own walks with the Lord and that type of thing. Now, if it's somebody who is not a Christian and they're going down a path, to me, that's a totally different type of conversation. A lot of that comes down with establishing a relationship with them to where you could eventually get to that tough conversation. But a lot of times I think that's why people are turned away from Christianity, is because Christians are can be so quick to point the finger
Yeah.
to like, you're doing this wrong or you're living this way and this, that, and the other, and it's not relational. It's not they won't understand why you're coming at them, even though you might be doing it out of love. Sometimes it might be tough for them to understand that because they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and thinking of it kind of in another term too. And the other question that I had here is, why is it so important for me to serve? Like if there's somebody, whether it's youth, whether it's anybody that's in the church is listening and they think, why is it important for me to serve? I don't understand. Why is it important for me to do this when there's so many other people in the church? Why should I do this? You know, why should I step out of my comfort zone? You know, I understand that I should have this strength and faith to do all of these things. Yes, no, which way. But why is it important for me to be the one that serves? Why is it important for me to go and do this?
Yeah, me and Noah's going to share a mic here for a minute. Y'all done got me involved in this. No, when y'all was talking about a minute ago and just starting it in her faith and how do you do that, you know, I know the story a little bit more. So I knew that Esther, when she finally came to this, she sent back to Mordecai, which was her uncle, you know, what to do. So it's not like she immediately had this faith, is what I'm saying. She had to think about it, and then she sent back word to him that said in Esther 4:15-16, she said, go to Mordecai and tell him to gather all the Jews together that are present in, here's one of them words, Shushan, and fast for me, neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day.
Yeah.
So this wasn't like a spur of the moment decision she made either. And I think sometimes that's where our faith fails. We try to have that faith and move forward without doing the work.
Yeah. Right
and
before
so she prayed for 3 days, and she said, also, and my maidens will fast likewise. And so I'll go unto the king, which is not according to law, and if I perish, I perish. And then if you remember from the New Testament, someone came to Jesus and said, why couldn't your why couldn't your disciples cast out the demons in my child? And he told them, he says, you can't do this without it being by prayer and fasting. So I kind of relate the two, that here Esther went to fasting, but I imagine they were praying during that time.
Yeah.
But notice it was 3 days and 3 nights, and that's when she got to that place of having that faith. So I'm like y'all, I think, and that I wonder why I don't have that. But then I have to be honest, sometimes I don't say, okay, I think this is something I need to do, but I'm going to spend some time praying and fasting over this to be sure, and then whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. I think it's important too. I'm glad that you added that to it, because I'd opened it up, but I didn't even look right above it. I mean, I looked before it earlier, but I didn't add that into the notes, because part of it was just the writing on here of apply it to the circumstances, prepare in every way that you can, as she did. So I just kind of, which it's better to have the entire picture in there. Like you said, the fact that it wasn't just, I prepare by praying the night before, or I prepared right before I went to talk to the king, anything like that. Like you said, 3 days, 3 nights of fasting. I don't know if you guys know this. I like to eat, and
Me too.
And not eating like for 3 days, that's probably a pretty tough thing to have to do. And so that's very important too. And so do you think the same can kind of be, what would you have to say in that same way? Are you saying just prepare, you know, you need to pray and all of these things, if in the feeling of why should I serve? Why should I do this or that?
Yeah, well, I think Esther's...
Why do I need to be the one that steps in?
Right. And I think her first response was, I can't do this. There's no way. And they kept encouraging her, and she just finally said, okay, we've just got to fast and pray over this. And so they spent that time, and I think that's where my faith lies. I think why I don't have the faith that Esther did in the end sometimes is because and I think you guys know it because we do it all the time, we'll just talk about the situation for 3 days, but we won't stop and say, wait a minute.
Won't do something, yeah.
We just need to, like you said, we like to eat, so let's go to supper and talk about this, when we really should just say, let's not go to supper, let's pray about this.
Yeah.
And that's what she did, even though she didn't really want to do it at first. But then she came to the conclusion with the whole story, like you said, is that if I perish, I perish. It was because he told her, how do you know that you weren't put here for this time?
Yeah.
I understand you don't want to do it, but who says you wasn't put here? And I think we've seen that some with our youth group and Growing Upstairs. Why are we where we're at? We didn't think we could do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even sure what we're doing sometimes, to be honest with you. But I think it's because we were put here for this moment and this time, and we're beginning to get there. And so we do need this, and we need to grow our faith so that we can, because we may just be seeing a little bit of what God's got going for us right now, and he's got so much more. We'll just realize he's put us here for this time, and we'll do a little bit more of the groundwork to grow our faith to be there.
I think that also that kind of answers the second question of this. What kind of difference can I really make? And some of it is I don't think you know right away. I don't think you can have the answer right away. But one of the biggest things that I try to think of every day is if I don't care if it reaches 1 million people, if it reaches 50 people, if one person is reached by it, that's all that matters. And sometimes I think we overlook that. Sometimes I think we think, well, I can have this great big faith or I can serve in this way and I can do all of these things and what good is it going to make? But if you would have that same thought of if I pray, if I have that faith, and knowing that even if 40 people hear it, but one person is moved by it, that's all that matters. And sometimes we overlook the fact that, you got a lot of people here, and if somebody's not moving, we feel like we're not being beneficial, or whatever it is that we're teaching or whatever it is that we're talking about is not really being heard or read or understood. Does that make sense? So have courage, like Esther, and the faith that God will help guide with a guiding light along the way as well, but not for our glory. It's the biggest thing. It's not about us. It's all for his glory in the end of it. And it's important for each of us to take that leap of faith and go and knowing that God is going to do or help us to know what is the right thing as well, because sometimes we try to lean on our own understanding and it's not necessarily the right way as well. What is the what's the Bible verse? It's the key Bible verse that everybody knows. Lean not on my own understanding. Was that Philippians?
Proverbs 3:5-6.
Oh, yeah, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Boom, nailed it. I did have it down here. It was just like 4 pages lower. You got something right there? I'll let you swing it around on it if you need to.
I'm glad Chad was here to know that scripture passage there.
Right ahead. Yeah, I know he grabbed the pen and started writing. I was like, oh, we got something here.
I was like, I'm just going to pass the mic to you.
We got a bite. One of the other things, too, not only did it take having the faith that Esther did, but it also took courage to actually go and to do that. And one of the other that I think of in this same situation is having the courage like David was against Goliath, because sometimes we think things are much too big for either us to overcome or to tackle, but we've got to have that faith that God will give us strength to topple whatever it is in front of us. And that age-old quote, this is what I was thinking of, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me in 4:13, because that's another part of it. I think sometimes in this world we walk along in the circumstances that we have coming up. Not only should we have the faith, but it's like you also have to have the courage, because think of David versus Goliath in that situation. You're talking about a small man versus a beastly giant. And I'm sure there's plenty of times in our lives or your life or whatever it is that's been going on that you have the same situation in front of you and you feel like you can't overcome that. Why? I kind of go back to that same question. Why would I even try? What difference can I make? And it's like you said right there, you got to pray about it.
Well, I think one thing you mentioned that, even I know myself and a lot of times, I'm sure others that don't really understand or can't wrap our minds around is just like you said about, can we do it? And it's like we forget that God can do. I mean, he can do crazy and things you would never even expect through us in a way that we would never think we could do ourselves. And it's because we're not doing it ourselves. Yeah. I went on, I think I know, I've talked about going on that mission trip my freshman year of college.
Oh, yeah, down to Miami.
To Miami.
Yeah.
And I mean, man, when I first got there and they started talking about we were going to go out on campus on the University of Miami, first of all, I was like, we need to pray for them. And second of all, I was like, okay, we're going out on campus to share the gospel, and now I need to pray for myself. Yeah. And it's like, because I've never done that before. And it's like, that's scary. And, I can't do that. And And those are all things, that's where the devil wants us. That's where the enemy wants us. And that's, from that story with Esther, the enemy wanted her to sink back into her hole and not step out and seek the Lord. And I can guarantee you that's where he wants us too. He wants us in that, and he wants to keep us down and thinking that we can't do it. But when we remember that it's God that's doing it through us, it's not ourselves, that's what we can use against him. Yeah. It's like, you know what, you're right. Like I can't do it, but I serve a God who can do immeasurable and imaginable things, and like we say, we need to give him the glory for that.
Yeah.
Because it's easy sometimes to, him to use us and do something through him and his power, and us just kind of ride the wave of it. Like, it's just, another thing, but to turn around and give him that glory right back, it's important. Louis Giglio even talked about that at Passion, like we're to be those mirrors, like we're to walk around with a mirror, and anything that we do is to reflect right back to God. So I think that's kind of my 2 cents on all of this in this topic. It's just like, yes, we can't do it on our own. But through him, if we put our faith in him and we're trusting in him, and, Dr. Scott Sullivan talked about this morning, if we've got to be growing daily and weekly, and then when we come into the church, it's that moment of explosion where it's like, now it's time to worship, and the true growth in our faith, in our daily walks, in our relationships with him, with our Christian brothers and sisters. All of that stems from us growing our faith in our daily quiet times and our moments when we get alone with God. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I love one part that you said in there, too. It's like the devil's pushing you down, and he's filling your mind with doubt. You can't do this. The entire time that you're at Miami or wherever it is, whatever it is somebody that's listening to is dealing with, too, your mind's being filled with doubt and the thought that you can't do this. Whereas on the other hand, God's sitting there going, man, have faith. And he's the one standing there while you're running the race going, come on, you got this. Have faith. And thinking of that analogy and thinking of, like, God is sitting here trying to, he wants you to. He's like, come on, you can do this. And cheering you on the whole time. And the devil's just like, no, you can't do this. Putting that doubt in your mind and everything like that. But just to see that, oh, come on, that fires me up.
And I think when Noah was talking about being in Miami for that first time and sharing, it made me remember the Panama. We have a mission and a plant in Panama, the country of Panama.
Panama.
Vulcan, Panama. We've got our church plant there. But what I thought about was, again, I think we need to work on our faith more and understanding God's got it when it's something for him. And we probably wouldn't worry as much, but I know there was one trip. Now, we had been several times, but Charlie Parrish was our pastor at the time, got us started with that. And then he left, and it all fell in my plate, and I thought, I've never done this. And all of a sudden, I'm in the country of Panama, which speaks Spanish, not English. I don't speak Spanish, so it's interpreters. I'm like, this is never going to work. But God's done great things through us there, and we're still working there, having after COVID, getting it back. But before COVID, I remember there was one trip where we had our interpreter set to meet me in, and I have to explain a little bit. So when we leave the States, we fly to Panama City, Panama. There's a changeover there at the Tucumán International Airport. Then we have to fly to David, and then we have to drive to Vulcan. And so all of a sudden, one of the trips was planned, and Joe Palmer, which was going with me, wound up being sick and couldn't go. And all of a sudden, it's me, and I'm like, I can't do this by myself. I mean, I know he can't speak, but at least I got somebody with me. And y'all, that was the most nerve-wracking. I probably worried more, but I did probably pray more too than I ever have before. And my major concern was, okay, I know I'm good when I get to David because I can find the interpreter. But what happens in Panama City, Panama, when I have to go through customs? I don't speak the language. How am I going to do this? They're going to arrest me. Nobody's going to know where I'm at in Panama,
Where grants go?
So you do that praying, but then again, there you go. God steps in and he knows this is important. So I didn't really have any issues. Yeah. I wound up getting to someone and they were like trying to speak to me in Spanish. And I was like, I don't know much English. Well, they knew enough to get me through, got through, sat there for 4 hours by myself, just staring at the walls and listening to other people, but made my transfer, got there, got the interpreter, made the whole trip. Everything went fine. But it was just nerve-wracking,
Yeah.
and I probably didn't have the faith I should have. And if I just stopped and said, okay, God, this is yours. You've got this. I need to have more faith that all of this is going to work out. I would have had less stress. And he was going to do it anyway.
Yeah. I think
I don't know if that makes sense with
Oh,
what
yeah.
we're talking about, but I worried more because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, believing in him. Whereas, like you said, you talk about the story of little David. David went out there and the giant said, I'm going to have your head bowed down. And he said, oh, no, I'm going to have you. And I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
wait a minute now.
Yeah.
That's pretty big talk for a little kid against the giant. But I should be doing that. I'm not worried about this trip. God's got this. He's going to make the path.
But I love it, though, because I also think that's an opportunity for growth. You know, I think Noah and I, when we did the puzzled series, each of us had our own lesson. And each of us talked to each other and we were like, hey, do you want us to be up on the stage with you? I asked Noah that, and Noah asked me the same thing. Do you want us to be up there? And it's not that they're going to teach the lesson with you. It's just having that person with you, that comfort of having somebody there. And I think, you know, he and I had done the chapel service for Westwood, and that's something we did together. I think it's a good thing that we did because it was nerve-wracking,
Right.
you know, and it's just tough when you get up in front of a bunch of people, and some people know you, some people don't, doesn't matter. But same thing, especially when you're preaching the word of God too, you want to be correct in it, but it can sometimes be tough. But I think that was a moment of growth too, where it was like he knew that you needed to do this on your own so you could grow in that same way as well and grow your faith, grow understanding that, hey, he's going to take care of you. Let him.
Right.
Let him.
Well, it was more like, you know, and you think back, why did I think I had to have Joe there? And
Yeah.
it was like, well, at least it's somebody I can talk to.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting there for that 3 hours or 4 hours waiting on it, at least I can talk. But then again, that's where you begin to realize, and like you said, God may have said, I need you to do this because I need that 3 hours with
Yeah.
you, and you're not going to stop and get it unless I send you by yourself, because you're not going to be able to talk to anybody else in the airport. You're not going to be able to talk to him. So all you got is one person left. That's me, God.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like you said, we think about doing these things and that other person's the comfort, but that's where our faith lacks because, you know, and we go back to Matthew 28, lo, I am with you always. Well, duh, Chad, God's, no, Joe's not with you, but are you really trusting Joe? I mean, we love him, don't get me wrong, and yes, he's a good comfort, a good friend, but really in that instance, it's almost like you're saying, God, I trust Joe with me more than I do you. And it's not, but it is, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, think about
Because
it.
God is showing me, like you said, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
I mean, think about it. It's the same story with Esther. You know, her uncle Mordecai was not with her. She went on her own. And those 3 days of fasting and everything, those were your 3 hours of fasting. And essentially it's time to get along with him and lean on the understanding that he is in control and he is taking over things. Or he takes over everything, you know what I mean? but I think about one other story that it's not really the same, and it probably doesn't have that same volume to it. But a few Christmases ago, we're getting to that time of year. I remember Taylor and I were headed to Albany for something, like a date night, I'm sure. And we had the Christmas cantata that was coming up that Sunday. And I think it was like that Sunday night and then that Monday night. So back-to-back days that we were doing it. And your dad drums for the praise band. And I play drums, but I play guitar mainly is what it was set up for. Well, we had practiced this cantata for like 2 months. Like we bring the music out early and start practicing it. So for 2 months, I had practiced all of the guitar music for this song, or for this entire thing. There's like 6 or 7 songs. And then that Saturday, the day before, or Friday night, we had gone to Albany to get dinner. And I get a phone call from Brother Eric. He said, hey, I think one of y'all's family members had passed. I don't know if it was your dad's brother, your uncle.
I think that was Uncle Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, there's a chance he's not going to be here to do the music on the drums. 2 months of me preparing for a guitar part, 0 seconds of me preparing for a drum part.
Those instruments are pretty different, right?
Yeah, a little bit, just a little. And the only savings grace is the fact that I learned to play drums when I was younger. And I would, if y'all are ever out of town or something, I'll fill in for it. But it was literally 2 months of preparing for a guitar, 0 seconds of preparing for drums. And I remember he called me on Saturday. He said, all right, I need you to play the drums. We cannot do this without the drums in it. We need them more than we do the guitar. Not that the guitar is not important, but right now the drums trump all of that. So I'd gone from 2 months of preparing for a guitar part to I've got less than 24 hours to prepare a drum part. So literally I went up there Saturday. I was probably at this church for like 4 hours or 6 hours. I don't know how long it was Saturday, just listening, practicing, playing, trying to get caught up on what 2 months of practice would normally have you prepared for. Got up that Sunday, same thing. I was here early. We went and ate like we had normal, service Sunday morning. We go next door to eat before we come back in here to practice and then actually do the cantata that night. I couldn't eat, dude. I was stressed out so bad about it. I was like, I can't eat anything. I went back in there, practiced some more, all of this stuff. Went back in, I ate like a cookie or something. Nothing of substance, but I was like, I cannot eat anything right now. And I'll tell you, it was one of the coolest experiences that I've had with something like this. We started, and by the halfway through the first song, I had the most peace I've ever had about the entire thing, and everything went off without a hitch. Yeah. No problem at all. But it was so strange. I was so worried about it before it, so concerned that it's not going to go well because I hadn't had the practice. I hadn't taken the time to prepare for this. I hadn't prayed about it. Not nearly as much as I had those last 24 hours leading up to it. And then it came, we started, and God was just like, I've had this all along. Why are you so worried about it? Yeah. I got this, in the words of, isn't that George Lopez or something like that? But he was like, man, I got this. What are you worried about? Yeah. And everything was fine. I was completely comfortable. And then the next night, I had no stress leading into it. And then I messed up on the second. But that was like similar. It's not the same story, but it was one of those. I was so concerned, had so much doubt in my mind that I wasn't listening to God saying, dude, I got this. You got to quit worrying about it, Because sometimes we like to worry, Noah.
Absolutely.
Kind of been wrapping up off of this, a couple of the notes that I put on here. So as we go out into the world today, have faith that God is working in your life. Do not fear, for Christ is with you, Isaiah 41:10, all along the way. And whatever it is that comes up, pray that God's guidance and understanding is over us, even when we can't see or understand, because that's another one, Proverbs 3:5, like you said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lead not into your own understanding.
We fixing to raise the meter, the meter, the meter, the meter, the meter, the meter to Aquafina. I need her.
So that's raising the meter there.
Yeah, we fixing to raise the meter, the meter.
We should be a DJ. We should have a whole DJ track in here.
DJ?
Yeah, DJ.
He's been on the podcast before.
Scott Calvin. Well, I appreciate you. Hey, Gramps, thanks for dropping in and
just a surprise guest on us.
But the perfect timing, like you came in and he was like, "Oh, I know exactly what they're talking about. Let me hit them with some more knowledge right here to add to the."
That's a God thing.
That's right. It happens that way all the time, though. So I appreciate you dropping in with us, Noah. It's been another fun episode.
That's right.
Did you have fun with the game?
I had a blast.
You did great, dude. 7 out of 8's pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
I would have probably gotten Gramps. Like 5 out of 8, maybe 4 out of 8.
A couple of those songs I think I probably wouldn't have gotten if I didn't have Lori as my girlfriend. So
that's true. Yeah. Next time I'll just do nothing but Taylor Swift songs, and you had to just name the song.
Honestly, man, I probably would do pretty good at it, and I'm kind of ashamed to say that, but I probably would not do too bad.
Hey, throwback to last week on our words, like Betty White. What do we call it? Slang?
Yeah.
I can't remember lingo, what the new lingo is. Man, Love Story still slaps. It's still
no cap.
One of my favorites.
No cap.
No cap, dude. No cap. But I do have I got some dad jokes for you guys. I think I got one Christmas one here. One of them in lieu of football season still going on right now. You ready for this one? Kept wondering why the football kept getting bigger. Then it hit me.
What's that?
Yeah, gotta let it hit you.
That one just hit me.
Just gotta let it hit you. All right, why was the Christmas gift late to the Christmas party?
It was a clock.
It was all wrapped up. Noah, you got anything for us in closing here? Where can they follow us? Where can they listen to us? All
They
these
can
things.
find us on Instagram at GrowingUpstairs, and definitely be on the lookout there. We're going to try to continue to get some more content up for you guys there, so you can check it out and
Check it out.
stay connected that way. Definitely check it out. Be on the lookout for different things there.
Yeah, one marshmallow.
Check it out.
Woo! That sounds good. Well, I appreciate you guys listening in, and make sure you guys keep growing upstairs. We'll check in with you next week.
Yeah.